One.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name's Lori Swan. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you are in any of our live chat right now, our YouTube or our Rumble, we do ask you to keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forward to us by the platforms we're utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, so you know we go live. If you are watching after the fact over on our podcast channels, which is Spotify and iHeart, we would like to say thank you for supporting our channel and welcome. So this is not the Wednesday night. Don't be looking at your calendars because this is a surprise and a very important broadcast, by the way, having to do about what's going on right now over in Israel, how this is a biblical prophecy unfolding before our very eyes, and we decided that we needed to come live and to talk to you guys about it. Again, we have our good friend Big John with us. Hey, Ernie, you've been watching this stuff unfolding too, huh?
Oh yes, ever since this started happening, the moment you and Deb sent me the notification, I have been like heavily checking things. Actually, I didn't even really sleep that night.
Yeah, right.
I got into prayer and talking with the Most High God about this, and seeking the word and just following everything as it transpired. We are in for a significant season, and we talked about the end of the year is going to be very interesting, and it has not let up on its promise.
That's right. That's right. Welcome back, Big John.
Yes, your old pal back again on a Monday night.
Monday night. You've been watching things unfolding as well.
I have. I've been kind of more reading than actually seeing anything, but I can about imagine
Right.
what's transpiring.
Well, this is okay. So let's dive in. Let's talk about, first of all, this attack happened during it was during Shabbat, and it was during the closing of Sukkot, right? Which would make it quite significant in itself, the fact that Hamas knew that they were finishing up one of their holy days.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get a little bit, I've got a lot of things pulled up for us, so we're just going to head into, first of all, so I just forgot that I had this pulled up. So the recent attack on Israel occurred during Simchat Torah. It is a Jewish holiday that celebrates the reading of the Torah. The attack coincided with the end of the week-long Jewish festival of Sukkot. The attack on Israel revived memories of the 1973 Yom Kippur War. The Yom Kippur War began on October 6, 1973, when Egyptian and Syrian forces launched a surprise attack on Israel during the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the holiest day in Judaism and time of atonement and forgiveness. The attack was an effort to retrieve territory Israel had taken during the brief conflict in 1967. So this is the worst attack on Israel in 50 years, isn't it, guys?
Definitely.
It is. And the fact of the matter is that during this time frame, with all the stuff going on in the East, it really aligns with what we have been reading in scripture. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a forewarning to all the people who are in the chat room right now. The stuff that we're going to be discussing in one, off of biblical principles, and two, there is a good chance that things that we're going to be discussed will be taken down on YouTube. So do you want to keep that in mind? We'll be available on our podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple, and as well as going to be simultaneously streamed up to Rumble. So you'll be able to view it there afterwards.
And I do want to preface before we get started that in no way are any of the three of us anti-Semitic. We are anti-Synagogue of Satan, but we are not anti-Semitic. And we're going to get into the Semitism of all of this and the lies that you've been told. We're going to get into the brainwashing that most people, including myself, up until probably the last decade, have undergone when it comes to Israel. John.
And this is also going to be for entertainment purposes only. Borrow that phrase from TikTok.
There you go. Entertainment purposes only. Don't take anything we say seriously. Do your own research. Do your own diligence. Is that how we work it now?
Yep, it's a thing.
That's a thing. Okay, I like it. I guess. I don't know. Anyways, okay. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like to say the things that we're talking about are entertainment purposes only, but okay. So okay. So what happened, guys? Let's discuss what happened. John, why don't you go first?
Well, yeah. So when I first seen that, they came across tearing down border fence, and then they had these paragliders, I guess, motorized ones. But then I saw some footage of them. Looks like they were coming down on parachutes at like a rave party that they were having, and so they have a Red Dawn scenario, and they took out a whole lot of people there, and then they were going into neighborhoods in southern Israel, literally armed to the teeth, and most of the weapons that they had were all, that's U.S. made equipment. So it came so fast, and they were literally just gunning down anybody in the women, children, men, whoever, soldiers, taking out tanks, these main battle tanks, with drones or ATGMs, which is anti-tank guided missile. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, how before, they can fire these unguided rockets. They have, thousands and thousands of them. but now they have equipment that can take out these tanks and equipment to take out these fences, and the IDF can detect if a damn bird flies across these
Right.
borders. But
Yeah.
and then now there was a factual stand down before they came over on these paragliders. I mean, can you imagine like paragliders coming from the Gaza Strip and
Let's
nobody really notices?
but let's put this in perspective, John. Israel has one of the tightest secured borders, secure airspace in the world, thanks to
Yeah,
the United States.
exactly.
So, I mean, the fact that yes, there was a stand down order, the fact that they did not activate the Iron Dome, and it says here Hamas deployed specialized units to attack Israel. So they were these Palestinian Hamas that said they deployed a force of 1,000 fighters to stage this attack, and Israel didn't see it coming.
Exactly. And I mean, and then that's the thing. Before, they'll have an AK-47 here and there, but they're all armed with, M9 pistols, which is a Beretta, and M4s and munitions to take out tanks. I mean, there's I saw footage of Israeli main battle tanks on fire, that they were hit by something that penetrated the armor. Hamas doesn't have they may have an RPG here and there, but I mean, RPGs are kind of like outdated. I mean, they're not. They may get into the tank, but it's just one of the lucky shots. But they had all this equipment to do this with, and then they came in over undetected, and then it's just a surprise attack. I don't believe none of that stuff. It's like they were throwing sandals, and now they have U.S. made equipment. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, can we ignore the fact that Biden just released all of this money to Iran? And Iran, I don't know if anybody's seen the video, but they're hooping and hollering and celebrating and hugging each other, and they're just ecstatic in their parliament that this attack has happened.
Oh yeah, and I mean, the weapons from Afghanistan were being funneled. You can't move that kind of equipment. It didn't come from now. It came from Ukraine or it came from Afghanistan. But there was even reports that were confirmed that Israeli helicopters were taken down. So I mean, these Hamas have Stinger missiles, anti-aircraft capabilities. They've never had that before. Because don't you think they would stand outside Tel Aviv? And I mean, a Stinger missile is good for probably 25,000 foot altitude. You know what I mean? They can get a plane taken off, but they have never done that. But now, I mean, now they have all this stuff that wherever it came from, and that's how I look at it. So there was a stand down given, and they were equipped with all this, great weaponry.
Exactly. It says at the start of the operation, Hamas said that it had fired 3,000 rockets in a first barrage. Israeli military said 2,500 rockets were fired, logging the bombardment at about 6:30 a.m. 03:30 Greenwich Mean Time. The rockets were intended to cause shock and confusion while providing Hamas fighters with cover to break through the fortified fence surrounding Gaza and carry out the operation. And the stand down order was at the border, correct?
Yeah, at the Gaza Strip, and it showed them that they had Hamas had like a I'm trying to think of the it's called an ACE. It's like an armored bulldozer. Where'd they get that at? You know what I mean? It's like,
well, I know exactly where we got it from, and it's part of the stuff that we left behind.
That's what I mean. It's like how they, it's like they've been it's almost been compiling weapons somewhere, because nobody thinks that Israel doesn't monitor any kind of shipments coming into the Gaza Strip. There's 2.3 million people there. Over half of them are combat age men. And they don't think they would detect, all this equipment coming in. I mean, there's thousands, tens of thousands of spies from the Mossad inside Gaza Strip. Somebody's telling on them, you know.
Oh yeah.
And let's make it clear, just like the CIA created ISIS, Mossad created Hamas.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, create the bad guy. Just, you know, yeah, CIA and Bin Laden, exactly.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to put this up here because this gets more interesting. So not only has hold on a second, let me pull up 11 U.S. citizens have been killed. That number is expected to go up, but also Hamas has announced that it's taken hostages, which are American hostages. They've announced that they're going to start executing. This reminds me back in 2014 when we were seeing ISIS carry out those executions on those videos, doesn't it?
Yep.
This is Hamas announced it will begin to execute hostages and post video evidence online for every Israeli airstrike as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu orders Israeli defense forces to besiege Gaza. He's already shut off the water. He's already shut off the electricity to Gaza. That's not anything new. That's kind of been his go-to anyways during these attacks. Is he completely shuts off everything to the Gaza Strip. But this is kind of different. This has a different feel to it because it has the backing of Iran, and that makes it biblical.
It sure does. And from what I've read today, it's not only backed by Iran, but Saudi Arabia is dipping their hands into it as well.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
They Hamas captured a general, an IDF general. His first name's Nimrod, which I thought was funny. But
I saw that.
Okay, so soldiers under his command, because they they left a lot of vehicles, but they were getting it, like literally these militants. Now, here's something else here's another factual about Palestinians. A lot of them are pilots. So that's why Israel was evacuating most of their F-16s on military bases that were being overrun. They were taking the planes out of there because these Palestinians, a lot of them are trained pilots, because a lot of them come from Jordan, and Jordan has a very abundant pilot program. So they can fly fighter jets, commercial jets, whatever. And anyhow, so these soldiers that were talking they were being overrun, they were saying that, of course, how does a military base get a total surprise attack? Going back to they can monitor a bug crawling across the damn border, and then they don't know, all of a sudden they're being overrun and killed. Now, some of them were saying that they think that it was a stand down because Israel wants to use what they call the Samson option. And I had kind of forgot about that. Russia calls that their little like last resort Samson 2. But Israel literally has a Samson option. You ever looked that up before? What that is?
That definitely rings a bell.
When they get over 50 to 60% overrun, they start launching nuclear weapons.
Yeah. And that would include nuclear weapons as well, correct?
Yeah, they go nuclear. That's the Samson option.
Samson option is a nuclear option.
Yeah, it's a nuclear option. They go and that's the thing. Israel has never came forward and said what they have. They've never had to.
They've never allowed the commission to even go in and inspect.
And weapons inspector, exactly. So nobody knows what kind of nukes they even have. But their Samson option is that if they're being overrun on all sides, and I think it's more than 50 to 5% of the land is invaded, they just go Samson and bring the whole thing down.
Wow. So how is this biblical? Well, let's get into, first of all, how this was a planned event. Let's pull this up. This guy right here, his name is Pike. This is Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a Freemason, and he wrote a letter to Mazzini. And I'm going to pull this up for just a second here. He wrote a letter to Mazzini, and he had said in this letter, let me just get it real quick. On August 15th, 1871, Albert Pike wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, who was at the time the Italian revolutionary leader of the mid-1800s, as well as the director of the then modern-day Illuminati. This is what he wrote. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Moslem Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilist and the atheist, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then, everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for the ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
My question is with that, I understand the devil wants to get rid of the Christians, but why is he trying to get rid of the atheists?
Because they in a sense do believe. Them not believing in God, you can't not believe in, how can I put this? There are no true atheists, because if they don't believe in God, they have to believe in something.
Well,
kind of like the fence. It's a fence analogy, Ernie. Who owns the fence? That makes sense? It's the fence analogy.
Okay, that kind of makes sense, but just hearing from the perspective of the atheists, they don't believe in the God at all, therefore they don't worship that. But obviously we know that you can't deny one master out serving the other.
Today, right? This is October 9th. Oops, sorry. I did not mean to do that. Exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
Most atheists I've ever come across, they as soon as you're like, well, what about Lucifer? Then they're like, oh, well, he gets a bad name. You know what I mean? They always go towards
right.
him.
That's what I mean. They
every time.
It's the fence analogy, because it's almost yeah. But so here's the thing: is he wrote this letter back in the 1800s to Mazzini. Now Albert Pike this was before the First World War, and this was before the Second World War. And if you read his letter, I only pulled up the Third World War because that's what we're looking at right now. But if you go back and you pull up his letters to Mazzini and you read the First and Second World War, it is exactly how it came to fruition. 100% accuracy. So it would be behooving for us to believe that if he got 2/3 of it right, why wouldn't he get the other one right? And this is exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing the pull between what's happening in the Islam countries. I'm gonna play something for you guys. I put this video out on Facebook earlier. Take a listen. This is from today. This is October 9th, 2023. This is over on Kyle Becker's Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Listen to this, guys. Just in New York City, a Muslim man made a threat to all non-believers. Quote, "We are done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be, Islam." End of quote. He goes on to say, quote, "We will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it. There is no God worthy of worship except for Allah. The God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and the final prophet, Muhammad. Guys, we know that Allah is not the same God as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We know that Islam was created to be the sword at the end of times, to be used for the purpose that they're using it for now, as a weapon.
You know, Lori, I responded to a message.
What's that?
I responded to a message. When you sent that to me, I responded with a message. That religion it's very similar to a meal, but it's missing the final ingredient. It really tastes good, but something is not there. It's missing that key ingredient, because it all on paper, it sounds okay. The God of Abraham, the God, the God of Moses and stuff like that. But to add that one little piece of poison, or they're missing that key ingredient that makes it perfect.
And that's what we see with the Noahide laws as well. They look good on paper. They look biblical. They look sound doctrine behind it, until you really look behind the curtain, and then you realize, we're going to go into that in just a minute. Let me just finish this up, and then I want these people to hear exactly. Now, I'm going to tell you something. These rallies are taking place all across the United States. This is just one. This is just the one in New York City. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Nobody's talking about this aspect of it. Everybody's talking about the Americans and the Christians who are going to the streets and who are proclaiming that what's happening is wrong over in Israel, and they're going on the other side. The American Defamation League has deemed us, anybody who does not put their faith and their support behind Israel, as a terrorist. But yet, this is okay. Take a listen. War 3, guys. Every previous world war has started with a false flag. This is no different. Take a listen to what this guy says, and understand something. This is coming to America. This is coming to your neighborhood. This is coming to your city. These sleeper cells have been here for a long time. Look up Dearborn, Michigan. Look up the Muslim training camps here in the United States. Look at the number of people that have come in through our southern border. These are all sleeper cells. We've been warning you about this. The time is here. Take a listen.
We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're done.
If you don't have your houses in order, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Time is running out.
Scripture talks about the fall of Babylon, mystery Babylon, mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and prostitutes, filled with abominations of her fornication. We have to understand that the times we are living in is at hand. This is the beginning of the end. You know, we've seen many different times of conflicts in the Middle East, but this is different. This is something significant. This is exactly what the Bible has been telling us for thousands of years. Now, following this, we're going to see we're going to see a world leader come on stage to broker this peace treaty deal in the Middle East. But before then, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. There's going to be a lot of tears. It's going to be a lot of pain. The people who are suffering right now, as we witnessing it right now, you can see it in videos all throughout X and throughout TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
They're not hiding anymore. They're coming out to play. But we have a God that can protect us and save us from what's to come. But we have to get ready. Turn to Jesus.
More biblically, John, you were saying before we went live, you were talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and what he said about Damascus. Can you tell us what he said?
He said if Hezbollah enters from the north in any kind of invasion, he'll destroy Damascus, and he'll target Assad, the president of Syria, and he'll destroy Damascus.
In the Bible, Isaiah 17 prophesies that Damascus, the capital of Syria, will become a ruinous heap and deserted forever. Isaiah also prophesies that the Assyrian army would conquer and scatter Damascus and the northern kingdom of Israel. Are we seeing both the Isaiah 17 prophecy very close, aren't we?
Well, it's like, yeah, it's at hand. It could happen. I guess it's on the table, I guess I could say, but I mean, and the real reason why America never really went after Iran, they try to do the sanctions because they're just, they know that there's so many Hezbollah people here in America that they'll start attacking colleges, train stations, donut shops, whatever. The whole thing about Hezbollah, now I don't know if anybody's ever read about it, but their suicide bombers are rock stars, and the families get paid, hundreds of thousands, if not into the millions, depending how popular or whatever. But they can't. That's a reason why that. And now you look, and there's actually like South American gangs in Michigan robbing people. Then everybody's like, the cops won't talk about it. They're stealing cars, robbing houses. All these people coming across the border, and they've been doing that. And Venezuelan gangs from the prisons they released, most of them have converted to Islam, and they're arriving by the train load. So this is all planned. It's just like the stand down of the border in Israel. It's the same thing, the border of the United States. Everything mirrors. Whatever you do to Israel happens to you. So if the United States is behind that, because they need a war, or they need an excuse to have somebody else get Iran. The point is, there are so many of these sleeper cells over here. It's going to set off. You have just so many. Now you have a real melting pot. Everybody used to always exclaim, "Oh, America is a melting pot of different cultures." Well, now you're going to see the bad side. Now you're going to see the war, because they're all here. They know why they're here. People have been seeing these different people saying, "Oh, I'm from the United Nations. I'm a soldier. I'm being paid. Here's my identification. I have a chip in my card." Nothing is just, these people aren't arriving. Not like some, but that's the catch-22. Yeah, some are here for a better life, but the majority of them, along with the Chinese that nobody else talks about, they're all here for a purpose. And when the time comes, they're going to secure what they're told to secure. And then as soon as they start doing something to Iran, I guarantee it's going to be chaos over here. You're going to start seeing some real action going on in these cities, if not in the rural areas.
Exactly. Speaking of Hezbollah, what you're talking about, this is an actual document, and it says the Hezbollah in Latin America implication for U.S. Homeland Security. And it goes on, it's talking about, it's a hearing before the Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence of the Committee of Homeland Security. It was took place July 7th of 2017, and it goes on, it talks about how our southern borders, how they are, with them not being secure, how these terrorist entities basically are being welcomed. Guys, how many videos have we seen of, and we're not the only ones saying it, pretty much everybody out there is blowing the same trumpet, saying, look at these people coming into the country. They are young, virile, strong men. They are of military age. They don't look like they've missed a meal. They're not dirty. They're healthy, and they're here not as our friend. They are sleeper cells. And Hezbollah and Hamas and whoever else is their part or getting paid for. I saw an article the other day. It was a guy in his mid-20s, and I don't remember. I think he was Hamas. Don't quote me on it. It was one of them. He said that he got his orders to come across the border. They gave him a ticket to go wherever it was they wanted him to go. I don't remember. I think it was either Los Angeles or it was somewhere's on the West Coast. They gave him a ticket. They sent him there. They had him set up in a hotel. They gave him money. They gave him a phone, and they said, sit there and wait for a phone call. How can we deny that? I mean, I just feel like as Americans right now, I feel, to me, looking back on this, with the 2020 vision of looking back, I feel like we are right now. It is September 10th, 2001. We are going about our business. We have no care in the world. We don't think it can happen, but just like September 11th, it's going to happen.
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen 10,000 times worse.
Because there's going to be so many of them. That's, it's just, the whole Tet Offensive, once again, from Vietnam. They attack different targets all at one time. But there's so many everybody's involved now. It's not just, Hezbollah members or whatever. It's everybody coming in here. It's armies. It's what they've been wanting to do. Bring in people that aren't, assimilated into American culture. So it doesn't matter. You can't. This is why Obama wanted a civilian force that was stronger than the military, because he knew he would have the propaganda and the percentages of the military having to go execute American citizens was going to be a debacle. So the civilian security force is here, and that's why they're dropping all these plans. They're saying they're dropping all the requirements to be police officers, and they're going to allow these immigrants to be cops and soldiers and all these things. But that's for a reason. It's not to help them. It's because they need an army that's not going to care when you're negotiating with them, when they're coming into your house and they're doing things to your family. It's going to be exactly what every soldier didn't do stuff like that. We had rules of engagement, but when you go into a Muslim's house and they're scared, and you're not exactly there to do evil deeds to them, but that's going to be here. And what you see when Hamas is killing these Israeli civilians as they're like going shopping or at a rave or whatever, that's going to pop off here. And the people aren't ready for that kind of, that's real shock and awe. Blowing up some buildings, whatever. That's kind of whatever. But real shock and awe, where there's a phrase, terror will overcome reason. That's from On War by von Clausewitz. He didn't want to go with that. He didn't want to go with terror, but terror will overcome reason. And that's how they win a war or gain ground or whatever. But there's just everything's on the table. I mean, literally can pop off tomorrow, and you'll see there'll be so many stories. You don't know where to go, what to do.
Right. The thing about the suicide bombers is that they're not doing it they're doing it with reward at the end. They've got this promise that, if you do this, you're going to have the whatever virgins, and you're going to be,
Yeah, and that's they believe that. They believe
they
that.
believe it. Yes.
You can't. That's the whole difference between. That's why those people don't have PTSD. I'm sorry to say, but Americans going over there and having to do things, they grew up in that. You think a head with the brain falling out of it and the eyes gone and flies all over the place? They live with that. You know what I mean? That's they grew up seeing dead bodies. That's nothing to them. And you look at, they don't have PTSD. They don't have no kind of like, well, I'm gonna go to college and they don't have that stuff. That's why they're a formidable foe to fight, because they'll sit back and watch the world burn. You can just, that was on a movie quote about like the Joker. You give the guy rubies, and then you see the kids playing with the rubies because he didn't care. He wanted to watch everything just burn down. You can't do nothing with that kind of person. Well, that's what that kind of foe is. They don't wake up and think, oh, I'm gonna play my PlayStation and eat some Takis and drink a Mountain Dew. They don't know what that is.
Right. This
So
is their normal life to them, and that's
yeah,
sad.
and that's what I'm saying. So when they come over here and they're giving money and, okay, sit down here, or you're gonna get virgins. That's the PlayStation goal to them, is I'm gonna have some virgins. That's their video game.
Right.
And they believe it, and they get a little bit of money, and they're just like the so-called Saudi Arabian hijackers for 9/11, that they were the strip clubs in Florida and all this other stuff. It's just they're brought over here. It's not coincidental. They didn't show up. The FBI was with them, the entire time, holding their hand, bringing them to Deja Vu, whatever club it is, and so I mean, it's all false flag. It's all a bunch of crap. But these people believe that. That's a difference in how you can't do nothing about them. You have to engage them if they're engaging you.
Wow. Yeah. And I want to show some. We don't believe in coincidences, right? Take a look at this. So Operation Iron Sword. Operation Iron Sword's flares are used by the Israeli army over the Gaza Strip, October 7th, 2023. Look at that, the title of it. Operation Iron Sword. And take a look at this.
When you showed me that, I was like, well, I forgot about that, Merle.
For those who are listening on the podcast, what Lori is presenting is a mural from the Denver International Airport. People from many different tribes and nations holding flags with swords in them.
And the Israeli flag holding the swords, which is
Israeli and Palestinian flag. Don't forget, they're both in the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Or yes, Israeli flag and Palestinian flag together, holding these swords. Let's talk a little bit about Palestine. Let's talk a little bit about Israel. Let's talk a little bit about the history of it. Before we go to there, I do want to announce that this was put out. This is a news release from the headquarters of the United States Central Command. It has been confirmed that the USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group is on its way to the Mediterranean. This includes the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier U.S. Gerald Ford, the USS Normandy, as well as the Arleigh Burke class guided missile destroyer, the USS Thomas. Can't read it. Anyways, they are going in position now in that area, just to let you guys know. So the United States is saying that they're not going to put boots on the ground in Israel, but we're going to send all the support that they have, that we have, that we're going to be sending that to them.
Yeah. And they want to get Iran so bad, but they just know that it's going to set off a whole bunch. Of course, here's the thing too. Now you can think about, well, you had Hillary Clinton just a week ago saying we need to have our camps ready to deprogram the Trump supporters. The FBI put out once again that Trump supporters are domestic terrorists. Now make no mistake, they're not talking about Trump supporters. They're talking about Christians.
Right.
And you have Hillary Clinton, who was the front runner of the FEMA camp program, even in the 80s with Rex 84. They were always involved in that because, like I said, she's Hilarion, so she's back on the scene. And she's been chomping at the bit to get everybody, and now it's adult men into the FEMA camps here in America. So even if something does happen with total chaos, that would put them in control with either COG or martial law, and then they can round up as much as they want. So, like I said, it's an 8-front war. They're not really saying, well, we can prevent this and our American people will be safe. They don't give a crap. They want chaos.
And then Turkey warned the United States not to get involved in this.
Turkey did too. They did.
Yes, Turkey did, and I thought I had it pulled up here.
That's what's making this scenario so interesting and very important. Is because of all the other nations surrounding Israel and being involved this time.
If you look at Ezekiel 38, if you're going that route, once the fighting's done, it says that God, the force leaves, but God hooks the jaws and says, no, come back here. He hooks their jaws and brings them back. In an effort, he proves who he is, because his powers, not military, not man-made military equipment, his own powers destroy the invading army. He swallows them up. He burns them. He does, he does the killing of this invading army. So it's at what point do you think that he hooks their jaws and brings them in the Gog Magog scenario?
Well, when you look at the Bible and you look at history, and let's kind of go down that road. So the Bible tells us in the King James Version in Luke 21:24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And that says a lot, because if we go back in history, the creation of the state of Israel. What did you just send me? Do I need to pull that up now? Okay. Let's do that before we go into the history of Israel. Let's pull this up. Ernie just sent this to me. So they changed.
This is courtesy of Heather.
Thank you, Heather. So the United States has changed its stance within the last 19 hours. It said the U.S. will likely go to war in Israel with air and naval power if Syria or Iran become actively involved. Wow. The U.S. will probably go to war in Israel if other countries get involved, a retired general said. Retired General Barry McCarthy said the U.S. was keeping a close eye on countries such as Iran and Syria. The U.S. on Sunday said it was sending an aircraft carrier striker group to the patrol waters near Israel. I just talked about that.
Well, another thing too, supposedly some kind of Russian or anti-ship missiles were known to be in the Gaza Strip that that could be fired into the offshore. So, not saying that they could do anything to aircraft carrier, but who knows? That could be another Gulf of Tonkin event or something. Good
Lord. The implications that this is putting forth. I mean, if you look at this, we knew that this was coming. I mean, the Bible tells us I mean, it literally tells us, it lays out in black and white exactly what's going to happen to Israel. So this is no surprise. But when you look at the implications of everything that's happening right now, along with the writings of Albert Pike, can we even deny that this is, I mean, this is the worst attack on Israel in 50 years. That means that the last time they were attacked was during the 6-day war.
I think. Well, when that 67, it was in 73. I think was the last time they got attacked.
All right. So, but in 50 years. So this is the worst attack on them in 50 years. Is Heather sending that?
If it's directly to you, I would assume so.
Yes, thank you. The Yom Kippur War. I knew it was something. Hold on a second. Second one, just read the second one. Okay, I'll just read this one then. It says, let me pull it up. The first full deployment of the U.S. Navy's newest supercarrier and its strike group just took an unexpected turn with the crisis in Israel. This is from 7 hours ago, and this is from the Business Insider. And it says, the Navy's newest and most advanced aircraft carrier's first full deployment took an unexpected twist as the U.S. announced that the ship and its strike group are headed to the Eastern Mediterranean amid a growing crisis in Israel. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said Sunday that the USS Gerald Ford carrier strike group is moving toward Israel as a show of support for one of the closest allies and overall the biggest recipient of U.S. military aid. After a shock attack by Hamas killed more than 700 people, Austin added that the U.S. would be rapidly providing the Israeli Defense Forces with additional equipment and resources, including munitions, with the first assistance arriving in the coming days. Wow, because we just don't send those people enough, do we? Sorry.
Yeah, all of our hard-earned tax dollars that should be used to balance and stabilize our economy is being sent over there. So, sorry about that. So yeah, it's quite frustrating, as a U.S. citizen, to say the least. But you have to understand the things, all this stuff that has to happen.
Well, yeah. So I think definitely what I expect next is there's going to be a Chinese blockade of Taiwan. So that's going to be the real deal then.
Right, Taiwan. Yes, exactly. U.S. provides $3.8 billion in military aid to Israel annually. This is more than any other country receives from the U.S. The U.S. has provided over $50 billion in economic and military aid to Israel since 1949. That's kind of interesting that we have been supporting a country that has been created through the Balfour Declaration. You guys want to talk a little bit about Balfour?
Absolutely.
So back in at the end of, so during World War II, Hitler had a specific job to do, and that was to exterminate the Jews. The only problem is that he was being funded by the very people that were supposedly fighting against the war. Those people, the bankers, they always fund both sides. Well, they were funding Hitler as well. Hitler had a specific job to do, and that was to get rid of the Jews. But he was supposed to get rid of specific Jews, and that was the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was supposed to get rid of that bloodline. And so then after the war, Balfour Declaration was drawn up by none other than Lord Rothschild. And it was presented, and His Majesty's government viewed with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. And it will clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice in civil and religious rights of the existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. Well, they've gone against the whole Balfour Declaration, this part of it, so far, with the Gaza Strip and with the West Bank. And so what happened was they drew this up and they created the state of Israel. And when they did this, they invited the Khazarian Ashkenazis, aka the Zionists. And this is where you guys, I'm probably going to lose a lot of you. That's okay. We understand that the education and the indoctrination that you've gotten throughout the years, because you've since this happened, since this formation and the creation of the term anti-Semitic was created in order for people to not tell you about this.
And
I can understand why you're going to go.
I would like to encourage those of you who are of one mind to open your minds for just a couple of minutes and just hear what we have to say, because this is biblical proof that we're going to be talking about. This is not anything to be spreading any hate, because we do not hate. We
No.
come in love, because God calls us to come in love. We are lovingly telling you what the Bible actually depicts of who these people truly are. And I know cognitive dissonance is very, very hard to get rid of, and it's rampant in our society, especially during these times. But I encourage you to just open your mind and just hear the information that we have to provide for you tonight. Whether or not you want to believe what we say, or you want to research this on your own, which I would suggest to do that, please do so. But don't push this off as something that is fake news, because this is actually factually true, and studies and scientific tests have been done to prove this.
Exactly. So the Balfour Declaration, the Rothschilds, they purchased this land and the state of Israel was born. And it was not for the biblical Jews. It was not for the chosen. It was for the Ashkenazi Khazarians who were going to fill this nation, aka the Zionists, aka the Talmud believers. Now, when we talk about the Talmud, we talk about their disdain and complete hatred for the Gentile or the Goyim. That is us. That is the believers. Jacob, Israel is not a landmass. Israel is a person. It is the bloodline of Jacob. And when we are told in the Bible, right here, that they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. God did not create the state of Israel. It was man-made, created by the Luciferian bankers through the Balfour Declaration. So when they sit there and they say you're anti-Semitic, no, you can't be anti-Semitic. These people aren't Semitic in the first place. This was a label that was created to prevent the truth to be brought out about this.
Because if the truth was brought out about this, then that means the Bible is true. And if the Bible is true, you're going to get more believers. And obviously the enemy is trying to disassociate God's people away from the Bible so he can have a hold of them.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you got to look at the whole grand scheme of things. Like, you have to understand the devil and his tactics. And Lori posted a fantastic series about knowing your enemy, which our enemy is Lucifer. And he broke it down, everything, including this part that we're discussing right now. So this is basically a refresher course for those of you who haven't watched that series. This goes to show you how intricate and detailed the devil is making in order for us to be able to be having that wool pulled over our eyes and have us being confused about Bible's true history and who the real people are.
I mean, people need to understand that the Zionist Talmud Jews that are in control right now, They are awaiting their Messiah. And their Messiah is the Antichrist. And once that Antichrist comes and they issue these Noahide laws, take a look at these guys. These Noahide laws look biblical. They look structurally sound biblical ideologies. Belief in God, respect God and praise Him, respect human life, respect the family, respect others' rights and property, creation of a judicial system, respect for all creatures. They look on the surface like they are just wonderful until you roll back the curtain and you take a look at this. This is based on Talmud law. And in Talmud law, the first one where it says, belief in God, do not worship idols. Your belief in Jesus Christ is to them a worship of an idol. And do you want to know what the penalty for this is? It is beheading, just like we're told in the book of Revelation. Just like we're told what the Antichrist will do to us in the book of Revelation if we refuse to bow down and to take his religion. His religion. We just heard somebody from another religion saying that, hey, if you don't take this, you're going to be punished. It's going to go into every household or else.
And most people don't really know. Well, I firmly believe this, that this is the beast religion. You notice what happened in UAE with Chrislam, where all those three major religions are coming together under one roof. And what is going to be leading them as far as like their doctrine and their belief system, their commandments, the Noahide laws.
Exactly. Brody says the protocols of the learned elders of Zion is the most masterful evil thing if applied as pure communism over all mankind. If you guys look up the protocols, it'll tell you right in Google that the protocols were deemed false. They were deemed that they were counterfeit. But can you answer me one question? If they're counterfeit and they're made up and there's some fantasy, why is it every single protocol is coming true? Why is every single protocol coming to fruition? Because every single one is. You can barely find the protocols anymore. I used to have it saved up on my bookmark. Now I can't pull it up on Google anymore. It doesn't exist. I have to go over on DuckDuckGo to pull it up.
I remember something. I was looking it up, but I can't find it. But I know it's fact. Okay, so they always say Israel was made a state or a country in 1948, right?
Correct.
It actually was made in 1947 when the Resolution 181 hit.
When the resolution.
Okay, so wherever they were at, and I'm thinking it was, which would have been Southern Europe, but they were 1,947 miles from Solomon's Temple when they made Israel a state in 1947. They were that distance away from the Solomon's Temple.
Wow.
In 1947, 1,947 miles away from Jerusalem when Israel became a state. So 1947 is also the numerical formula of why the Roswell crash happened too. We talked about that in our show with when you take the pyramid and put two corners of a pyramid on each pole of a sphere. So that's a tetrahedron on a sphere. That's the formula 19.47. And that's the same measurements as the pyramids on Mars. So, I mean, 1947 is just, Israel's all involved in that. That's why they, even Israel has something to do with Mars too, because that's where all the Maximus family comes from.
Wow.
I just want to throw that in there. It's all by design.
I'm going to pull this up on the screen for you guys. I like I said, I couldn't find it over on. Here's the protocol. And if you go into the protocols, there are 24 of them. Basic doctrine, right lies might, Economic war and disorganization lead to international government. Method of conquest, the destruction of religion by materialism. Disposition in modern progress, the acquisition of land, the encouragement of speculation, the prophecy of world war. Transitional government, the all-embracing propaganda, abolition of the Constitution, rise of the autocracy, constitution of autocracy and a universal rule, the kingdom of the press and control, turning public thought from essential to non-essential, destruction of religion is a prelude to the rise of the Jewish God, utilization of masonry, heartless supplement enemies, the nullification of education, the fate of lawyers and clergy, organization of disorder, mutual understanding between rulers and the people, financial program, domestic loans and government credit. If you go down and you start looking at all of these protocols and you read them, you will say that each and every one of those protocols is coming to fruition today. But yet they were deemed by a court in Brussels, I believe it was, that they weren't real.
But we know that, I mean, anything they say, just believe the opposite.
Right. I think the most important thing for people to take away is to understand that the Jewish people and the Muslim people, the Muslims they're waiting for their Messiah as well. They're waiting for their Mahdi. And, so once this person comes on scene, these people that you're supporting are going to be working for the very entity that we are told if you bow down to, you will forever be taken away from your salvation. And that's the good guys. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of flack on this, But again, I'm going to put this out there, and this is just for me. But I think I can say the same thing for Ernie, and I can say the same thing for John. We are not anti-Semitic. We are anti-synagogue of Satan. And you can read about that in the book of Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9. And it talks about these fake Jews that they're claiming they are, but they're not. There's even been DNA tests done on every single person that lives in Israel, and every person coming into taking their nationalist their position coming back to Israel. Everybody gets a DNA test, and they've determined that a very high percentage of people are not from the bloodline of Abraham. They are Ashkenazi Khazarian, and that is from, I believe, up in Russia and Turkey.
Yep. Well, this war has been really popping off, and we're starting to see influences from many different sides surrounding them. It's not just a war against two people now.
Exactly.
All this Ukraine talk that we've been going over and reviewing for the past year and a half, it's going to be a cakewalk compared to what's to come.
Yeah, and I think that we've become very complacent in our lives here in the United States. John, you mentioned something earlier on the show today, talking about chaos, talking about the how things they don't have a conscience. They go into things with the belief that they're going to have some sort of miraculous, beautiful life on the other side. So my concern is, guys, we're coming up on the holidays here in the United States.
And that's going to be our most vulnerable, because everybody's going to be relaxing, hanging out with families, or shopping, or filling themselves up, marrying and giving in marriage. And we're going to see.
It really it has a knot in my stomach thinking about how vulnerable the United States is, and how it's by design as well. People, if you're worried, this is how North Korea works. North Korea works on on this concept. They keep their people hungry and scared, and they're so hell bent on where they're going to get their next meal constantly. Like there might not be a next meal after your next meal kind of thing. So they're so concentrated on feeding themselves and not being hungry and settling their rumbling stomachs that they don't care what the government is doing. That's how the government gets away with so much. There's a woman over on YouTube. She escaped North Korea, and she talks about all of this. And it's heartbreaking to listen to her talk, but I think it's something that everybody needs to hear, because that's essentially what the United States is doing. Biden is doing the job that he was put in office to do, and that is to weaken us as a nation, and he's doing a hell of a job. Everybody sits there and say, oh, he's a horrible president. He's the worst president we've ever had. No, actually, he's the best president they ever put into office, because he's doing the job that he was put there to do, and that's to weaken us as a country.
You know, Lori, I sent you a X message on Facebook. This is how things in the US are when it comes to our leaders.
I have to get out of
this. And it's downright appalling, especially after what's going on in Israel. I mean, women and children are being kidnapped and all sorts of bad things happening to them. Americans who are there, they got captured. And Lori's going to show you what our administration is doing today.
Give me a second. See, I can't. Okay. I cannot pull up any Twitter from Facebook. What is the name on the account?
What is the name?
What's the guy's name? No, hold on a minute. I don't know what's going on with my Twitter. Give me a second.
Well, I can read it for you. This is breaking.
Well, just give me the name and I'll pull it up.
At Travis_N_Flint.
At Travis XX?
No, Travis_N_Flint.
Underscore Travis_Flint.
Travis_N_Flint.
Oh. Sorry. Got him. Okay. Hold on a second. Lori's a little slow today. Don't hold it against her. Okay. What am I looking at? Which one?
It's from 12:23 p.m. from today.
Today?
And hashtag breaking.
Got it. This one?
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, not just that. There's one more too that he posted. But yeah, okay. Go over that one.
Breaking. Joe Biden announced that he's considering a one-time payment to Ukraine, dubbing one and done, that will hold them over until next election. He's requesting $100 billion in taxpayer funding. Public support for Ukraine funding has decreased every single month for the past 5 months. Zelensky and NATO say they're worried the U.S. funding will dry up, so they want as much as they can get now. And this one here. Wow. John, let me ask you a question about Ukraine. What is this? What is everything that's happening in Israel? What is that? Does that change what's going on in Ukraine?
Only if they can reach like a. I think today he made the propaganda about how Putin and Iran are good buddies and Putin supports terrorism, basically. So he's trying to remain relevant. It could help them. Ukraine did give weapons to Hamas. They did. There was a shipment that's known about. They, you know, it's you know, Ukraine. We're funneling. Maybe that was a way to funnel weapons. You know, like a second thing. Like you can funnel weapons from Afghanistan because you know we withdrew so fast, and that was a plan. So this is probably all in the making. Like, okay, we can get them weapons from Afghanistan, or we can, you know, we're gonna give Ukraine all these weapons from our arsenal, and I imagine Ukraine can get them to, you know, deliver them faster. Probably less hijackers, or you know, or trouble. In other words, you remember that explosion in Lebanon last year that was just huge, and they blamed it on fertilizer?
Yes.
I truly think that there was something delivered to Lebanon because it looked like there were so many reports that was an explosion that didn't go full fission. In other words, if it, you know, fission process is a nuclear reaction. Well, the way that thing exploded, it looked like it didn't go full fission, but some people said that they delivered a nuclear weapon into Lebanon to use on Israel as like a false flag or dirty bomb, but that's why that place was hit. Because that was
we haven't even discussed the whole dirty bomb stuff, the whole, you know, the missing plutonium and uranium that came, you know, when the Iron Curtain came down. We've got that stuff's all around too. That could come into play at any moment.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They you know, Iran has nuclear weapons. They've always had them.
They've always had them.
And they've actually sent some to Venezuela. And that's another thing. You know, they got those missile systems in Venezuela that can actually reach the southern United States, and you know, little tactical nukes here and there. Well, so there's a reason why it's like, you know, United States doesn't want to, but they do want to. But is it the right timing to collapse the country? You know, do they have everything they need? Have they laundered enough money? Have they got all their people like to bug out? You know, all the elites and everything. Because once the United States collapses into chaos, it ain't gonna. There's that's the point of no return. It's every man for himself until everything is, right. You know, either there's an invasion, which right. will turn, you know, or if they, you know, if everybody's fighting each other, it'll just become a wasteland, and then no side will win. You'll have, the lines will draw up after a little while, and then everybody will hold their own territory.
I think mutually assured destruction, John.
Well, I also think too that that's not real. Russia has, it's known that they have a civil defense system, that they have bunkers that probably will 90% of their population will survive. Yeah. We don't have that. Yeah, United States, they put out, remember the little funny little thing saying about nuclear, if a nuclear explosion happens in New York, this says stay in your home and listen to the radio and all this other weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's it's so funny that it's like they're cracking up laughing as they're letting this information out. You know, they're like,
come on. When I was in school, it was duck and cover.
Yeah, and they had, you know, fallout shelters and stuff, but they don't have that. The United States has never. It just wasn't designed. They never cared.
Right.
The whole thing was for the very moment. To, you know, all I'm going to say is that when the Incans named this place the land of the plumed serpent, they knew why they named it that. It wasn't going to be no, you know, we all thought that, and we've all, you know, but have we not abide in the, you know, we haven't personally thought of drinking the blood of the saints, but we do live in Mystery Babylon. But here's another thing. Are we all Daniel? Daniel was dragged to Babylon. He didn't want to be. He was a captive. I feel the majority of Americans are Daniel now.
Exactly.
Because we're not taking part in these orgies and, you know, eating people's flesh. Because that's why Daniel ate vegetables, by the way. He wasn't on a diet, you know.
That's right.
So he didn't want to eat people. So he was like, oh, I'm going to go find some vegetables. I'm going to get those smuggled in because I don't feel like eating, you know, a calf muscle. So but I think everybody is Daniel nowadays in this country. But anyhow, the mutual assured destruction, Russia is like, no, 90% of our population will emerge from our bunkers that we built. And unfortunately, Americans don't have that. You know, some
As a
can
matter of
probably.
fact, they just did a test last week. Again,
No doubt.
coincidence?
Yeah, exactly. Russia knows I mean, the mutual, like I said, the MAD treaty is not real. It's they'll launch a couple of them Sarmats that have 18 damn warheads on them, and you know they don't call that missile Satan for nothing. They named it Satan because of us. That's what, like, okay, this is who this is for.
Right. It's got your name on it. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. They designed that missile for the United States only. They're not going to use that against nobody else.
Exactly. Ernie's got up on the board, up on the screen here. So basically, after we found out that, well, it was 9 Americans were killed, but actually I think it's 11 or could be more by now. He decided he was done for the day.
Yeah, he was done. No briefing, no statements, nothing.
No, nothing. Nice. Special. Isn't that just special? I want to thank Kenny. Looks like our look at this. Just take a look. Military stocks going up.
Yep.
Lockheed's going up.
Oh, of course. They are just, they're excited.
Northrop Grumman's going up. Look at that. Oh yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the same people who are funding all this stuff in 2020 and 2021 are benefiting from this as well. Easily.
I mean, think about it. Raytheon, they're out of Javelin and Stingers, so I mean, this is perfect to get them production lines back going. And then the oil, of course, rise like 5% in a day, and they're expecting it to. I mean, it could get the damn $200 a barrel, and that's good for a lot of people. Not the but here's another thing: all the strategic reserves are empty, so gas prices are going to skyrocket. Then you got to think about war rationing if we declare war, food rationing. So I mean, everything that happens, it's on their comfort level, and I mean the elites, because they can just say, well, we'll just enact the National Defense Authorization, and if you got food saved up, we'll come get it because our soldiers need food, or your draft. I mean, every option is on the table to collapse the whole damn thing.
Well, here's the thing. This is the perfect time for all this stuff to take place when the election is coming next year.
Well, exactly.
So what's going to happen when we're in war?
The elections is, I don't know.
Well, if we are in war and we have signed a declaration of war, guess who's
there are no elections. Because I mean, everything. That's when Obama signed that. Elections are suspended. Homeland Security takes over the elections if they even have them. It's all. I mean, like I said, there's nothing there for Mr. and Mrs. John Q. taxpayer to even do anything. But you just either you like it or you don't, and they'll decide. Just like I'm telling you, Hillary Clinton, when she said about them camps the other day, that I'm really telling y'all, we're all going to be in a camp together at some point, and you're going to say, "Oh, Big John was right."
I'll be the one selling the what did I always say? I'll be the one selling graham crackers.
Yeah. You'll be like Red on Shawshank.
I'll be pushing coffee.
You can get things. You can get us things.
Yeah. If you want graham crackers, you come see me. I'll be the graham cracker queen.
It's but her saying that, like I said, that goes back to Rex 84 programming with Reagan and all that. The Clintons, they've always been involved in that. She is Hillarion, and all that's gonna, all these supernatural occult characters that we've all heard of in Conspiracy or Truth are gonna come on the stage. It ain't just gonna be the Antichrist. They're gonna be what does Jesus say? Many will come in my name, but he never said whether they're gonna be, good or bad. Obviously they're gonna be like an instead of. But yeah, when she talks about re-education and stuff, that's they got that stuff set up. It's that and it's like they're not gonna care if you're neutral. You're gonna be the first one to get it. You know, that's what they want. They want, oh no, I never did anything. I never, no, you're gonna, okay, we want you, because they don't like anybody. They don't like humans. They don't like Americans. They, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, you could think, oh, well, they came for the poets, but I never wrote poetry, so what do I care? Or they came for the
Exactly. They
priests,
came
but
for
I
the
don't preach.
artist.
So
I'm not an artist.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not an artist. Yeah, I never painted pictures, so what do I care? Then it's time. Well, you're gonna get it, and we're like, what do I do? Well,
They came. Yeah, they came for the Protestants. Well, I wasn't a Protestant. I didn't care. You know.
yeah, and all that's left. Well, then it's your
Yeah.
turn. But that,
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's,
When they come for the Christians, who's going to have our back? Because the Bible says, "Brother will turn against brother until the death."
oh,
I mean,
100%.
we are going to have nobody
That's
that we can trust.
yeah, and then it's almost like the ones who turn in, they're called the FEMA Blue List. They help out this and that, but like 90 days later, then they're thrown in there. Nobody's going to survive any of this stuff.
Nobody is. It's I think when this thing started taking place in 2020, you had these Karens that were reporting everybody, calling the police on people. There's kids playing in the front yard, they don't have a mask on. Oh my God!
Oh, beta testing.
It was all beta testing. It was to see how far you were willing to go to turn your to how far would people go to keep others in line.
I don't think people realize the ones, these people with purple hair or whatever. And that's the funny thing. You look around and think, well, they're just college kids and they're going through a phase.
Yeah.
But you actually have people with purple hair and blue hair down at the border commanding Border Patrol and National Guard. This is factual stuff. And you think, why are they rubbing themselves and like crazed look in their eyes when they're letting all these people in? This is really happening, and you can laugh and think, really? I mean, but it's true.
Yeah.
These people are in command, but they're not human. But they have the purple hair, and it's like, why the hell does it have to be these purple hair people that are doing this? And it reminds me of all the ones like, all the stories from the concentration camps where they would actually have like the girlfriends or the wives of some of the, death camp officers that were, pleasuring themselves while they were shooting these prisoners, in the head and stuff. And they were getting off of that, literally demonic things like that.
Yeah. Very demonic.
And it's the same as happening, but with purple hair, and it's like they're watching these people cross and they're actually pleasuring themselves. These are real stories, and it's like, what kind of damn dimensional hell are we in?
Exactly. And it's this is nothing compared to what we're going to see as time goes on. And Ernie, we have we've been putting this stuff out since 2020 and saying, this, oh man.
And then you have the people in charge, but like in charge, come on, if you can't tell this is just an old clown show now, it makes zero sense. You can't even sit people, all these media, I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear them when they're all fair, but I wonder if they're like, my gosh, how are we getting this country to believe this? And they're taking hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. But they're literally, this is the time of the phrase. They're pissing on your foot and telling you it's raining. You're like, it's raining hard today. Look at this, and you're believing it. It's crazy. It's literally that. Literally that. And they're like, oh, downpour today, and they won't look down and see you pissing on, they're pissing on your foot. Clown world.
It is clown world. Absolutely. All right. Kenny sent me another thing. What do you got, Kenny? I don't know what this is. We're going to watch it together.
Be careful.
I know, right? Oh, hold on a minute. All right. Where'd it go?
I think it went
You see
bye-bye.
this?
I see myself.
Ah,
There it is. It popped up.
it's not going to let me play it. Copy.
I think
I'll
everybody
send it.
needs to pitch in and get Lori a new computer. How about that?
Can you pull that up, please?
I
Jeez.
I haven't even thought of like what like how much is a computer nowadays? Like a
I don't even
desktop?
know. I don't even know.
You have a laptop or like a tower?
I got a laptop. Yeah.
I haven't kept up with computers, and I remember years and years ago, a friend of mine, I guess he might have built them, but I remember he had a temperature gauge on the tower, and I was like, what is
Yeah.
that?
There's some towers that are water
Well,
cooled. Oh yeah, it goes hard with computers.
my
would,
laptop is just the other day it had the blue screen of death again. So
oh gosh. He was a World of Warcraft guy. I swear he was fighting 20 million people one time.
Yeah, I liked World of Warcraft. Okay.
I used to be on that as well.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and play this video from TikTok, and we'll talk about it from there.
The biggest fear of sending a carrier strike group to the Mediterranean Sea, besides the potential loss of life, is the narratives that you, me, Congress, and decision makers are going to hear. And hi, if you're new, I was a naval officer for several years and worked at the Pentagon as an analyst. Do you know what River City is? I'll explain that to you here in a moment, but here's a backstory of my firsthand experience with River City. My very first ship was the USS Guardian. This ship ran aground in the Tabajara Reef near the Philippines, and we had to abandon ship. This picture looks calm, but there was stormy nights and it got very dangerous. We had to abandon ship, and at the time there was a storm with 20 to 30-foot waves coming over this, and it's wooden, so the risk was that it would crumble on itself. Long story short, my old captain and XO and a few others were dismissed from the Navy, but what the public heard was very different from what actually happened. I was a young 24-year-old man at that time, and I loved the Navy when I came in, but this is where I started to have a lack of faith in leadership. Before any ship goes on any voyage, the voyage plan, or the map, you could say in civilian terms, is approved by the Navy, and the Tabajara Reef was not on those maps. Now, I wasn't driving the ship during that crash. However, any officer, the one that was driving, myself or the captain or XO, they would have all hit that reef because you simply wouldn't have seen it in the pitch black of night while it was underwater. But that was not the story that was released to the public, and they lost their careers. So back to what is known as River City. It's basically the control of communication out to the general public, media, or the chain of command. Break this down simply, the ship's captain can control what communications get sent out. So think of it like Facebook would be the first thing to go for most of the sailors. That makes sense. And the theory behind it is loose lips sink ships. You don't want the enemy to know where we're at or what we're doing. So why we post that the U.S. is sending a carrier strike group to the Mediterranean in support of Israel, Hamas knows exactly where they're at and how to counteract them, and they probably have a plan just for this. And the primary point of this video is for the last year and a half, so many people have thought that Ukraine is this close to winning the war against Russia, which is the complete opposite of the truth, even contrary to what the mainstream media is saying to you. How are we, the people, going to know what is actually happening into the Mediterranean? What is going to happen if we go into the Indo-Pacific region? Are we going to get the truth? To be quite frank, honestly, you and I should not know, but that's not how social media or mainstream media works. Know that many ships in the Navy aren't even deployable. There's a recruiting crisis. There's a military equipment crisis. We've been handing military equipment to Ukraine. Considering that River City will most likely be set for these ships heading into the Mediterranean, what do you think the likelihood, whether we're winning or losing in the region, that you and I are going to get the truth of what is happening over here towards Israel? If conflict extends from China to Taiwan, which if I was China, this would be the time that I would go after Taiwan, sorry, but do you think you and I will be getting the truth of action in this region? And to answer your question, do I think this is a catalyst for World War III coming up? Potentially, one mishap or missile strike in the wrong region could set off or trigger a set of events. Or with the euro collapsing and we lose allies, Russia and China sense the weakness in our unification. So absolutely.
Ooh. What are you? Whoa. John, I got to hear what you got to say about that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And yeah, like setting it up and saying this is going there. And plus, yeah, the Mediterranean deal. So that's the whole. What's the port that Russia has one port? Isn't that the Black Sea or is that the Mediterranean?
I don't know. I can check real quick.
They only have one port, and they will not. They're not. They'll never give that up. They'll nuke before they lose that. But to go into the Mediterranean,
They have port of no. It's in the Black Sea.
okay.
It's in the, I can't pronounce it. Novorosisk. It's in the Black Sea.
That might have been the one that the Ukraine killed all them admirals or something. They used some British made cruise missiles.
It's hard to keep up
Like
with
2
that.
weeks ago. I think they hit the headquarters of that place. That name sounds familiar. But anyhow, yeah, like I said, like if China goes for it, China can kind of do what they want, really.
Yep. I think the next couple of weeks are going to be quite interesting, to tell you the truth. I don't see this de-escalating, in my opinion. What we're seeing, I don't see it de-escalating, especially when you have Netanyahu having on the table that he will go after Damascus if he finds out Iran's involved.
And that will put the nail in the coffin as far as biblical prophecy is concerned.
Yeah, then we'll see Isaiah and we'll see Ezekiel. Yeah.
I asked you a couple of days ago, Lori, and I'm going to ask you this too, John. Are we putting more emphasis on this than we should be? Like, is it as serious as it appears to be on the surface, or are we living through Revelations right now? Are we finally seeing the beginning of the end here, or do you think that time is still on our side for right now?
I mean, I don't, the whole thing about knowing the return, nobody knows but God, not even Jesus. But now World War III happening before anything biblically, yeah, that's going to happen. And World War III doesn't necessarily, it takes out a quarter of the population. I mean, that's a lot of people, but that's not the end of anything. It's just an event. So
Right.
Everything has to come after World War III. Now, could this be World War III? Yeah, it could be. Could they get what they want and then all of a sudden have a peace treaty? I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't know. A peace treaty deal isn't going to be any kind of Antichrist thing. That's going to be like some kind of a trick or something. World War III with massive casualties, where it takes away a quarter of of men, like the Bible says, that event has to happen first before anything. Any kind of peace treaty revealing, falling away. World War III is like it really, it could almost be, it doesn't have anything to do with the timeline of Revelation. It just has to happen.
Well, there is one inconsistency with all of this too, and that is one that there's actually two. One, the third temple, and two, the red heifers. Like, it can be enough damage to destroy the red heifers.
I think here's the thing. I think World War III would
Are you talking to Debbie today?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I talk to her every day.
She sent me a message today. She's like, what's going to happen if they destroy the heifers? Will we have to wait for new ones?
Heifers. Here's the thing, though. World War III, they have to rebuild Jerusalem. Okay, there has to be a new Jerusalem before any kind of Antichrist. So World War III could knock all that out. Red horse prophecy, whatever. And is the temple a body, or is it an actual building? What do you think it is?
Well, Jesus said that our body is his temple.
So could it be a man that rises up after World War III and is the temple and exalts
No,
himself?
I think it's going to be Satan's going to counterfeit it. I think it's going to be an actual temple.
My only opinion is World War III, whether it happens now or later, is going to happen before any kind of Revelation timeline starts. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I'm just putting up on the screen the writing of Albert Pike again. Did Albert Pike, was his writings used as a playbook to create World War I, World War II, and now World War III? Is it a coincidence? Was it telegraphing? Because it's kind of hard to put.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, here's what the World Wars will have in common. The first two have in common because what did they do? The First World War did what? When it was over with, it established borders. It established the Middle East. The Levant finally became something. It all got different places. Saudi Arabia. None of that never existed before World War One. The countries did not exist. So World War One created all the countries and the borders. So it made the Middle East a thing. What happened after World War II? Israel became a country, its own state. So if Pike was right and World War III happens and he says it like it is, where Jerusalem's destroyed with the Zionists fighting the Jews and the Christians fighting the Jews and the Muslims, and all three little religions are all fighting, it does what? And does it establish a Luciferian counterfeit Jerusalem?
Well, he says right here that where is it? Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. So that would be the destruction of Christianity through so if you want to look at Revelation, so that's the Antichrist rising up. He wages war against the saints and he destroys, he beheads the saints, and then it goes into the one world religion, which is going to be the universal Luciferian religion.
Yeah, and all that happens. None of that happens until after World War III. So Pike is, well, I mean, he's accurate with that, and because he knows.
Oh, yes, see, that's just it. Okay, we looking at World War I and World War II. He's been right on 2/3 of everything. What makes us think that he's not right on this?
Well, what I'm saying, it's the final stage. The first World War made the Middle East. The second one made Israel. The third one's going to make a Luciferian. Now, here's another thing we talked about him last, like 2 weeks ago. The Freemasons never want to talk about Manly P. Hall, the secret destiny of America. He said after World War III, the Phoenix Rising is America because of the apotheosis. So after World War III, or should we be watching Washington, D.C., or should we be watching Jerusalem?
Wow.
Well, here's the thing. Get this. If Albert Pike is 2/3 right now, okay, you divide 2 by 3, it equals 0.66667.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
So, I mean, Lori, I think we're on to something.
And the Deagle report says 33 million Americans will be disappeared by 2025, and it's 33 million now. That's another number, 33.3.
Yeah, if you want to round it up, it'd be 33. Yep, population. Yeah.
Will be gone. That's what they're taking. That's what Deagle report said. How many Americans will be missing by 2025? So, yeah, I mean, numerically, but everybody never talks about Manly P. Hall and his entire book, The Secret Destiny of America.
Well, here's the thing. So a Freemason was live on TikTok the other day, and I went in there and I started discussing about Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike, and I guess what I got muted.
Oh, no doubt, because Albert Pike. they always try the whole. They're like, we can debunk that, but you do Manly P. Hall and the Secret Destiny of America. They're
No.
like, they don't know what the hell to say.
Yeah, he muted me. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. Well, I guess we've got our work cut out for us and keeping an eye on this and seeing where this takes us, what direction. Like I said, I don't see this de-escalating anytime soon. I see it the opposite. I think it's gonna escalate, especially anybody else really surprised that Netanyahu's back in power besides me?
I'll set it up like that.
I think he has a place in
I do
biblical
too.
prophecy.
I do too. Absolutely. I do too.
And a lot of people overlook, about about Israel, and we got to protect Israel with this saying with Israel and stuff like that. But little do they know how much Christians are persecuted in Israel. I mean, didn't Netanyahu just pass a law that you can't practice Christianity openly?
Christianity. So I did a little bit of research on that today, and Snopes is coming back and saying that's not true. But we know Snopes is not a reliable source. I mean, it's a guy and his new prostitute wife and his cat who get paid by Soros to run damage control. So how much credibility really can Snopes have? They are pushing to, because they have to be really careful. They can't really outlaw it because a lot of Christians go there during Christmas time. That's a lot of their tourism money.
Well, I saw a video out of Israel that they had some Asians doing a pilgrimage, these Christian Asians, and they were carrying a cross, and the Jewish people were spitting on them.
Yes.
So
yeah,
like,
they can make it so you're not too comfortable if you go there, but I don't think they're going to outlaw it because I think they make a lot of money on that.
Well, they are targeted people there, so I mean, regardless,
yes, they are. And this will be interesting, guys. And I don't know why I'm going to say this, but just popped into my head. Keep an eye on Temple Mount. I don't know why. Just keep an eye on Temple Mount.
Yeah. Because they might be hastily building that and getting this stuff done because all the stuff that's going on in that region.
Yeah, I don't know. Final thoughts?
I will definitely watch out for these rallies if we engage Hamas or Iran or anything like that. If you start seeing upchucks and a lot of demonstrations, I would stay out of a lot of heavily populated areas. I mean, cities, really.
Yeah, that's probably good advice. Don't partake, and I'm going to say this again, do not partake in any of these rallies that you may see for support or defense or whatever that's going on right now. Stay clear, stay away, especially since we do have a valid threat against Christianity here in the United States. The ADL is also deemed all of us who don't support Israel as terrorists. So, watch your back. Be careful when you go out, especially during the upcoming holiday season. Watch your six, guys. You always should be aware of your surroundings.
Be prepared. Can't say that enough. Be prepared. Make sure not only you have your whole armor of God on, but make sure you have your physical armor on. Make sure you're prepared for anything in the physical and or spiritual realm, because the stuff is popping off, and you've seen these demonstrations occur here in the United States. They're not just happening here, guys. It's happening nationwide. Australia had a huge one by the Sydney Opera House. So this is something that is permeating worldwide. That's why we are broadcasting tonight, because regardless, there's so many conflicts that occur in the Middle East, but this one is different. This one makes me sick in the pit of my stomach because of all the stuff that is happening right now is now concentrated, starting with Ukraine, into this region.
Yeah.
And we can't keep our eyes off China either.
Yeah. Definitely have to have our head on a swivel right now.
But
All right.
first and foremost, and most importantly, keep your eyes on Scripture.
Right.
Because the Lord is our salvation. He is our strong tower. He is our refuge and our strength. And He's the only one that's going to keep us through this.
Exactly. Johnny, still up for Wednesday night?
Yes, so far, yes.
Okay. You let me know if we have to change anything.
I will.
Okay. All right, guys. That's all we've got for you. And again, you know what? Do your own diligence. Don't believe anything we say. Don't take our word for it. We've given you enough to hopefully get you curious enough to take a look at the information that we've given you, especially when it comes to the state of Israel. I do want to thank everybody in the chat rooms. I want to thank everybody who's going to be watching this live. I don't know if we're going to be back on this channel on YouTube again, but you guys all know where our backup is. If you don't, go to the channel, go to the About section, go down, it says backup channel, click on that, and make sure that you're subbed to that channel. If you don't see us here Wednesday, you'll know that it was because of this show and that we will be on our backup, and we will probably also be over on Rumble. So thank you to everyone. And until next time.
If we get any pressing news, I will make sure to get Lori back on here. So, I mean, this is something we need to watch heavily. And this is, I mean, it's time to buckle down and enjoy the ride.
Yep. Yeah. If anything happens, we will go live with you guys. I will promise you that. Okay. So till next time, guys, remember, eyes open, no fear.